Welcome to the Free Agent Sports Podcast. This is our first ever live internet broadcast of the Free Agents. And this week we have LJ and Chris Curtis with us. We're going to talk about NBA playoffs, some college hoops, all the great baseball action, and some NHL playoff action as well. But let's kick it off with Chris Curtis and the sports update. Chris, what's the update?
Absolutely. Going to start things off on the diamond. As of right now, in the top of the fifth, the Athletics lead the Twins 5-1. The Athletics have a man on first and one man out. Pirates and Cubs just underway at Wrigley. They're in the bottom of the first. Later games going on later today, starting at 4 o'clock. The Nationals play host to the Marlins in D.C. Red Sox and Yankees get that rivalry renewed. That happens at 7:05 at Yankee Stadium. Phillies play host to the Brewers in Philadelphia. That's at 7:05. Houston and the Blue Jays get going at Rogers Center at 7:07. The Braves play host to the Mets at Turner Field. That happens at 7:10. White Sox and Indians play each other at U.S. Cellular Field 8:10, and then the only late game in the major leagues is the Diamondbacks and Giants. That happens at 10:10 at AT&T Park. Moving over to the pond, you have the Flyers and Lightning. That will happen at 7:30 in Tampa Bay. The Rangers play host to the Sabres in a Long Island matchup. The Hurricanes and the Capitals will play in Carolina. The Canadiens and Islanders, as the Canadiens are going for a playoff tune-up as they're the 3 seed in the East right now. The Senators are playing host to the Devils in Ottawa. Panthers and Maple Leafs going to do battle in the Sunshine State. Predators and Coyotes going to do it in the Music City. The Minnesota Wild play host to the Blues, and actually that's going to be a playoff preview matchup, it looks like. That happens in Minnesota at 8 o'clock. The Jets and Bruins going to play in Winnipeg. Winnipeg hosting that one. The Oilers and LA Kings going to do battle out west. That's going to be in Edmonton. And then the only late game in the NHL, the Canucks and the Avalanche in Vancouver. Moving over to the hardwood real quick. The only 2 games in the NBA going on, the Mavericks in Dallas, they will play host to the Spurs, and that's going to be a good matchup out west. And the only late game is the Nuggets traveling to Oakland to play the Golden State Warriors. That happens at 10:30. Going to give you a quick update on the Masters real quick, and then we'll get it back to the regular program. As of right now, through 14 holes, Bill Haas has a one-shot lead on Stephen Gallagher, I believe that is. He's a one-shot lead in the first round of the Masters in Augusta, Georgia. So we will kick it off first. Our first topic of the day is actually going to be the NBA as we get things going. Playoffs coming up pretty quick.
We're wrapping basketball, goddammit. It's basketball time. I'm sorry, but the Masters is not exciting without Tiger. If there's no Tiger, there's no excitement. We need some excitement. We need people chasing Tiger. Yeah. And there's nobody, Tiger was the bad guy, and then everybody was chasing after Tiger. And people were rooting for the bad guy and against the bad guy. It was perfect. Golf had an icon, and now they don't have it. It
can't be argued, though, LJ, that the Masters is really lack of exciting even with Tiger in it. So, you can
we need Tiger from, we need like sex addict Tiger before all the therapy and all that business.
Yes.
We need the old Tiger back.
There you go.
It's like you need the Aerosmith when they were on heroin. It's like you need the look at Robert Plant when he got off the drugs. God, he's a generic pop star.
Absolutely.
When he was on the drugs, he was the screeching lead singer of Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
It's adversity and drugs and all that stuff makes you great.
There you go.
I mean, hell, Lawrence Taylor, greatest linebacker of all time. Poked out motherfucker while he was on the field.
Anyway, going back to the hardwood so we can get on topic here. The playoffs are coming.
The NBA.
Yep. Playoffs are coming.
They actually have a marijuana problem, but
Well, yeah, but what sport doesn't have that?
They don't test for that. They even said that they're gonna. I mean, hell, when you test a Denver Nugget, you're gonna have to take into account that marijuana is legal in Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
all right now. Playoffs.
playoffs. Anyway.
Yes, we're coming to the end of the season. I couldn't be happier to get to the end of the season. This is miserable. Yeah. This is like waiting around for the holidays to start. Let's go. Come on.
It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, especially as I mentioned before, the Oklahoma City and Dallas one is the matchup I'm looking at in the West right now. As of right now, they play each other. Oklahoma City being the 2 seed and Dallas being the 7 seed. That could change, but I don't think it's going to. I think Dallas probably stays there. The big playoff.
I don't know if Dirk's got it in him to steal enough games from Oklahoma City to beat him in a series, but
right. I mean,
fun to watch.
That's exactly right. There's going to be at least a couple of close games out of this, but the big thing I'm watching is that Phoenix team. Do they hold on to that 8 seed, or does Memphis come up with a game? I believe that Memphis actually has a game in hand on them, if I'm not mistaken, and they are.
Phoenix has a game lead over the.
Yeah.
Over
as
Memphis
far as the
right
matchup
now.
goes, so I think Memphis has the 1 game in hand. But so
I don't know.
Either way,
it comes down to that. But God, look at the winning percentages from the 8th seed in the West versus the winning percentage of the 8th seeds. And the 7th seed, and the 6th seed, and the 5th seed, and the 4th seed, and the 3rd seed in the East.
Yeah. Oh, I know. The records in the East have improved. I'll give it that. But then again, they're going against a really bad conference. I mean, they're
going against the dregs of society in Orlando and Philly and the Bucks. Last night, the Bucks lost to the B team from the Indiana Pacers.
Yes, absolutely.
They literally sat down all the A-listers, and they played the B-list team.
Yeah, it was
led by Luis Scola and Evan Turner.
And who hit that winning shot? I can't remember who hit that winning shot.
I don't know. I wasn't even paying attention.
Exactly.
It was
some guy, some Euro player.
I mean, I think Frank Vogel and Larry Bird are just fucking with everybody. Honestly and truly, I think that they're just like, you know what, we're gonna lower expectations. We're gonna still make sure we get the number 1 seed, but we're gonna lower expectations. We're gonna fuck with people's heads. We're gonna make them think that there's some shit that's being stirred up. We're gonna slow Paul George down, and then we get in the playoffs. It's gonna be like they reveal, they're gonna pull off the mask and they're gonna kick everybody's ass.
Yeah, it's.
Or have I just been watching too much WrestleMania and shit?
Yeah, apparently, or something like that. But no, I don't know. I think ultimately last night, if there wasn't a play in place, which I really don't think there was realistically, but if there wasn't a play in place, I think Frank Vogel definitely put his job on the line last night, and it turned out it worked. But you got.
Well, I mean, there's stories coming out. I saw headlines this week. Vogel aware that he's not Bird's guy and blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh my god, Larry Bird is fucking with Vogel before the playoffs. I was like, this can't be happening.
Well, and then there's been talk,
be some made up shit that's going on.
There's been talk, of course, about Vogel, basically leaving the bench and Bird coming down and coaching the team. And I'm like, no, you have to stick with the horse that brought you. You put Vogel through the playoffs. You have to. I mean, what's that going to look like to your team? That's going to look like an act of desperation.
Yeah, and the shame about it is Bird is the motivator and Vogel's the X's and O's guy.
Yep.
And together they'd make almost the perfect head coach, kind of the guy with gravitas, but also the ability to kick ass when it comes to planning a game and defense and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And also Indiana's running into a problem. They don't have a point guard that can set the table for anybody. George Hill is not the right player to run that offense.
I agree.
Because Paul George doesn't create his own shots, and Hibbert needs to pick and roll and needs to be set up properly. And West and Stevenson, they don't even have a really solid. I mean, you need a guy to kick it out and for jump shots and everything. And Hill just doesn't do that.
The main issue that I have.
He's just not the guy.
The main issue that I have with Indiana started with this when Danny Granger got traded. You killed a majority of the Hang on. Hear me out.
Okay.
You killed a majority of the chemistry on that team when you dealt Danny Granger away, and it's been showing. You look at the record before the trade, and then you look at the record after the trade, and see the losses that they put up.
I need to call a timeout on chemistry because chemistry is talked about, but I think bad chemistry comes from losing. I don't think losing creates bad chemistry, or no, I think losing creates the bad chemistry.
Let me give you a scenario.
I don't think that bad chemistry created the losing. I think that the losing created the bad chemistry. That's what happens when a team starts winning. All of a sudden, everybody goes, "Oh, well, this team has chemistry." Yeah, it's easy. When you're on a win streak, you feel great. When I'm sitting at the card table and I'm winning a game, and I'm crushing, I think I can't lose. I think I'm doing everything right. I think everything is going great. So my chemistry at that point is off the charts.
Right.
And then when I start losing, I become a miserable prick. And when a bunch of guys together that are together every day start losing, they become a bunch of miserable pricks, and they start arguing with each other. So I don't think the chemistry situation. I think we're putting cart before the horse.
Well, the thing that I'm finding is I'll compare it. I'll give you 2 points here. One, I'll compare it to the Chauncey Billups thing back in 2009 when the Pistons traded him to Denver for Allen Iverson. That completely destroyed the Pistons. Their mental.
The Pistons were a bad team to begin with.
They weren't as bad as they got.
No, they were bad. They just got exposed as bad. And then when they started losing, the fact that they didn't have anything to fall back on caused chemistry to fall apart, I guess. But I mean, again, it's not. Again, you're talking about something that happens when you start to lose, and good chemistry happens when you're winning, and that's how it works. I mean, you're starting in Golden State. They started talking about chemistry after they started losing. When they were winning, everybody was happy with each other and they're best friends.
Yeah, well, we all know, we both know, we've talked about it before, what the problems are in Golden State, and that's Mark Jackson. But the end all be all of it, I think, with Indiana is I think right now, Lance Stevenson is trying to be the show on that team. It's taking an act of Congress to get the ball out of his hands, and it takes a point guard.
Well, Lance said he got this.
Like that.
That's what I said. We need a point guard.
Right, and that's exactly right.
You need a guy with some gravitas that can come in there and control that team. If there was a team that was ever in need of a Chris Paul type of person,
it'd be Indiana.
A guy with that kind of oomph to come in and control a team. Dare I say Rondo? Dare I say someone with that knows how to quarterback a team? And George Hill, I'm sorry, you're just not that guy.
Right.
And that's bottom line is that's the reason why they're not winning. Is that they don't have any offense. They don't have anything that's, when George Hill was out of his mind, not George Hill, when Paul George was out of his mind at the beginning of the year, that could overcome bad point guard play.
Right.
But as soon as, the defense is adjusted for what George was doing, you needed George Hill there to help create some offense, and that's just not happening.
Speaking of Chris Paul, I'm going to take you out west for a second, and I want realistic expectations from about the Clippers in the playoffs going in. Do you think they have the horses to beat San Antonio or OKC?
I do think they have the horses to beat both of those teams in a 7-game series.
Okay.
They have Doc Rivers. They have a much. I mean, you want to talk about most improved player in the NBA? It's Blake Griffin. He went from glorified dunk contest guy to legitimate, number 4 best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Legitimately, he can be thought of right up there with the elite players now.
As far as most improved player, I want to throw
Chris
some votes out there.
Chris Paul is what? Is in the top 5 for best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 2 of the best players in the NBA. And then you have DeAndre Jordan, who's much improved.
That's what I was going to say, is throw some votes in him for most improved player too.
Doc Rivers has this ability to get it out of NBA players. Again, a coach with gravitas, a coach that's got a ring on his finger, a coach that understands what it takes to win in the NBA, who's played, who the guys respect.
Yeah.
This Vinny Del Negro had none of that. And now, when Doc Rivers is there, look at how much better the Clippers are. Yeah. It was worth the trade. It was worth anything that they had to do to get Doc.
Yeah.
And this making a huge difference, and it makes them competitive with Oklahoma City and San Antonio.
Not to mention anybody out east as well. I mean, literally anybody. They could take the Heat easily in a 7-game series if we see them in the finals.
Yeah, the Heat have a problem with point guards and Chris Paul, and they have a problem with things down low. the Clippers are a bad matchup for the Heat overall. The problem with the Clippers is they don't have anybody that can guard LeBron one-on-one. I mean, that's the real issue.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt Barnes is the best they can do against LeBron. Oh God.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Okay. Now that we're getting towards the tail end of the season, give me your MVP vote.
Oh, Kevin Durant. Durant. I mean, it's second best player still LeBron.
Yeah.
And then, if you're talking about MVPs, you could talk Blake or Chris Paul after that.
Well, the stat that really jumps out at me is for the MVP vote, and why I don't even know why there's an argument after the stat, but the OKC Thunder as the 2 seed in the West have a 4-game lead on the Heat as far as in the loss column. And that by itself, I mean, just seeing as how the Heat are in the the secondary Eastern Conference, that should tell you all you need to know right now, especially with the injuries that have been hampering Russell Westbrook this year. Kevin Durant stepped up and basically took over that team and took over the Western Conference at the same time. So I don't think there should be any argument in the MVP race.
Plus, he's setting records for 25-point games in a row.
Right.
I mean, Kevin Durant is ridiculous. He is. They were talking about it on NBA pregame show the other night. Bill Simmons, Jalen, and Avery Bradley were talking about Durant, and they were like, "Okay, if you're going to build a team right now, and you're going to draft a building block, Kevin Durant is the guy you take first."
Yeah.
I mean, he's ahead of LeBron now. LeBron is in his prime, and Durant's heading into his prime. This kid's still heading up the mountain. Still heading up the mountain. He hasn't even reached his peak yet.
Yep.
And that's going to be amazing when he reaches his peak. Amazing to watch.
All right,
it's a shame that they didn't re-sign Harden and have all of them go into their peaks together.
Give me a percentage of probability, going back to the East real quick. Give me a percentage on what you think the chances are that New York takes the 8th spot from Atlanta. I realize they're 2 games back.
No, they're not taking it. Like, there's a 3.5% chance that they can do it. I mean, they literally have the numbers out there. The Knicks blew it. The Knicks totally blew this one. They needed to win in order to make their pick not good for Orlando or Denver, whichever one gets it.
Right.
Because one or the other gets this pick, and now it becomes a lottery pick. It's a late in the lottery pick, but it's still a lottery pick. You can turn it into
talent in the draft. Great.
You can turn it into this big Russian center that everybody's talking about now. You can turn it into that guy. You can turn it into a bunch of different things. You have these guys, late in the at number 10. That's where Andre Drummond got took.
Yep.
This is where that pick might end up. So if you're gonna end up in that situation, I mean, this is ridiculous. You're giving up a pick that is potentially that good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're leaving money on the table, Knicks. You're leaving a ton of money on the table. This is gonna be a disaster. I don't know what Phil Jackson's gonna do. I wouldn't want to be him. You're gonna have to do some sign and trade nonsense with Carmelo Anthony. That's
the thing is, I mean, he volunteered for this, so he's got to have.
I know. Well, he didn't volunteer. He's being paid a shit ton of money.
Yeah, but he's
going to have a private jet at his disposal for when he wants to fly to the West.
But you can't honestly tell me that Phil Jackson couldn't have just rode off into the sunset with what he's done with the Lakers and not lived healthily.
He's bored. Phil Jackson's bored. He got on Twitter. He said, "Twitter's not for me. I need to do something else." and then they came up with this idea. They said, maybe we can convince Phil to run the Knicks. And Bill went, "No, you can't." And they said, "Well, maybe you can." I said, "All right, call him in."
There you go. They'll give it a shot.
And they called him in, and Phil. Everybody thinks Phil was using the Knicks to try and get the Lakers to make an offer to him.
Yep.
And then when the Lakers didn't respond with an offer, and the offer got really good from the Knicks, then Phil just said, "Well, I'll just take it then."
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, and if there was one guy to bring the Knicks out of that hole, it would be the Zen Master. So I'll give him credit where credit's due.
And in a non-playoff related note, Joe Dumars announced that he was stepping down.
Yes, and honestly, I think that was one of those where the owner, Tom Gores, basically just looked at Joe and said, "We can do this your way, or we can do this my way. You can either resign, or I'm going to fire you."
Now, what are you going to do with the problems there? I mean, there's a big problem. Brandon Jennings is not a distributor, as much as he is. I mean, he's just this weird, I don't know what. But you need someone to come in there and design something to make everybody happy.
I agree, and I think the guy to do that.
You've got young guys with pedigree that can play the game of basketball. You just need to put them in the spots to make them their best. I mean, that's it. You've got players that can play the game of basketball.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking we go into the draft. We send Josh Smith away with a 20 pin to his collar and wish him the best of luck.
You can't send him away. Where are you going to send him? Who's going to absorb that contract? That's a bad contract.
I know it is. I know it is.
So you can wish that. That's not. I don't think that's going to be.
This is an ideal scenario I'm describing. Basically, what I want is I want Josh Smith gone. I want somebody who's already been doing basically player coaching his entire career, and Chauncey Billups to take over that team, as far as a head coaching standpoint. Give me somebody other than Isaiah Thomas running the front office, because it's rumored that he's actually in line to take it over.
That's scary.
Yes,
yeah, that's really scary.
That's not good. That's not even.
Lock up the women. Isaiah's coming.
Well, not only that, but I mean, look at him. Look at him as a head coach in Indiana. He did shit. Look at him as a head coach in New York. He did shit.
Look at what he did at that college he went to. Shit. Look what he did when he ran that independent basketball league. Shit.
Yep.
Look at what he does when he's on TV. Shit.
Yep.
Motherfucker shits everywhere he goes.
That's exactly right.
He leaves big piles of shit everywhere he goes.
It's a bad scene when you have players trying to blackmail you, dude.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful.
Obviously, you gave him a reason to want to blackmail
and you're gonna go from Dumars to Isaiah. You didn't even change errors. You didn't even change backcourts.
Right. You need to.
You're just going with his. They
need to bring somebody from out of town. They need to bring somebody from another team.
You need to bring a guy that understands sabermetrics. You need to bring a guy that understands everything that's going on in today's NBA.
Yep.
The ideal candidate doesn't want another GM's job, and that's the problem. Steve Kerr is the ideal candidate for anybody's GM spot, but Steve Kerr doesn't want to be a GM anymore.
Well, he's got a nice fluffy job at TNT right now. Who would want? I wouldn't.
No, it's not that. Steve Kerr wants to be a coach in the NBA. He wants to do something he hasn't done before.
Okay.
And he wants to get down on the sidelines, and he wants to get into it. He likes coaching.
Yeah.
And he enjoys that. He actually likes. He's like, I like when I'm around the kids. I enjoy just being around players, and I like pointing them in the way and teaching them how to win.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches too, man, I'm a UConn fan, and Kevin Ollie might be scooped up as an NBA coach. You're talking about that shit already.
They were talking about it before the national championship game. They're talking about him and Calipari.
Calipari, yeah. Good luck with Calipari. Calipari will never work in the NBA. Never work in the NBA. His style of coaching is that overly encouraging. Yeah, he was a flop.
Absolutely.
He was like the Nets coach. He was like a flop for the Nets.
Right.
Yeah. Good luck. Yeah. Go ahead. Take Calipari.
There was been rumors. There were rumors started on Twitter that he was actually headed to LA to regardless of the result.
Let the Lakers. Let the Lakers.
Right.
Good. Let him overclap while Kobe's chucking up threes with bad knees.
Right. Yep.
And Calipari's on the sideline clapping, going, "Good job. Come on.
Yep.
You can do it. Come on, just keep doing it." Calipari and his clueless looks on the sidelines he's lucky he drafts talent. That's the problem. His ability to get talent, hides his ability not to coach.
Tell you what, he's in trouble if Adam Silver gets what he wants.
No, he's not in trouble. He'll get to keep his players longer. He's actually going to get – once he had players for 2 years, look what he did.
Well,
when Anthony Davis was in his second year, all of a sudden, boom, that team is a winner. Anthony Davis played on a team with a bunch of second-year players that didn't enter the draft because of the strike.
Oh, yeah.
The lockout.
That's a good point.
And so, I mean, that's the reason why he won his national championship. He had a bunch of players come back.
Yeah.
Inadvertently come back. He went, oh, shit, I get these guys back. I thought they were going to leave. You know,
yeah, well, I mean, that's what Calipari's been famous for.
Already rented out their rooms to someone else.
Yeah, that's what the one and dones have done for Calipari. They've gotten him far in the tournament, and that's that.
Far to the tournament, and that makes some money every year. I mean, look at you get $10 million just for showing up at the door of the NCAA tournament if you're in college.
Right.
Just for showing up. Here's $10 million.
Thanks, Ohio State. Here's $10 million.
Yeah, I mean, Eastern Illinois, Washkosh, Kabosh. These
Western
little conference schools get these $10 million, and that's a shit ton of money for them.
Absolutely. The
that's a nice paycheck. The coach gets a nice bonus off of that.
Yeah.
He's like, the coach is like, I'm buying a boat. I don't give a fuck. We just lost in the first round of the NCAA. What are you doing, coach? I'm buying a boat. What do you ask the players doing? Well, can someone buy me a sandwich?
Right, and that's where that'll actually make a nice segue into our next topic. The UConn Huskies, the national champions of college basketball, Shabazz Napier, who was voted the most outstanding player of the tournament, he's hungry.
The hungry Huskies. He came out and said it. He said, "You can't hold us down. If we want to be stupid, we'll be stupid and not graduate players."
Yeah, well, the issue that was arise from this is
the issue that arose. They did an interview with Shabazz, and Shabazz said that some nights he goes to bed hungry.
Yep.
So then that spurred Adam Silver to act and take it from there.
Yep, and actually, absolutely, Adam Silver basically came through, and he's going to work on, first of all, increasing the age limit from 19 to 20 for college players to come to the NBA, which I think is a good move. All these one and done basically doing them nothing is turning college into the developmental league, even though the NBA already has a developmental league.
Well, that's the thing. He wants to keep the age up, but he wants it to be fair to the players.
Right.
So he came up with a compromise, and he was going to have the NBA foot the bill for for food and such, and
keeping
and
the
incidentals and everything that these guys would need. At a college level to keep them comfortable so they don't have to go out and they have to do stupid shit.
Right. And then with that, there's an article on Bleacher Report if you have not seen it. It's actually a really good read. It's basically Adam Silver needs to talk to the NBPA, which is the National Basketball Players Association, and the NCAA, which the NCAA has already been very against any kind of compensation towards their student athletes, which I believe, and everybody in this show believes is completely hypocritical. And
well, like I just said, $10 million for showing up at the door of the NCAA tournament, and the coaches get a bonus, and the players get
a sandwich. Yep, they get a sandwich.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. Is Adam Silver wants those kids compensated for staying another year at college, making sure that they're fed, they're watered, basically their cage is clean, and
he's like, train our motherfucking players. Here's some money, goddammit.
Right. That's basically what it is. And I think Adam Silver is absolutely in the right in doing this, and I think that
he's pushing the agenda, but now there needs to be a voice out there that's saying the NBA shouldn't be footing the bill for this. The NCAA should be footing the bill for this. Absolutely. They're making a ton of money.
Yes.
These players should be getting some of it. Plain and simple. This is not rocket science. This is just so simple. And these idiots that sit there and hide behind this bullshit about amateurism and all this other nonsense, when the first thing after the NCAA tournament was over and the first commercial immediately after was a computerized voice that they had already gone, congratulations to the UConn Huskies. Now you can get your UConn Huskies gear at the NCAAshops.com.
Oh, that too. Yep. Sports
That's
Illustrated sure did one too. Yeah, but
Sports Illustrated didn't even get even close to it because the NCAA won't let them. Okay. ESPN couldn't even show the highlights of the NCAA title game because the NCAA is so greedy with their rights.
Yeah.
They literally would not let ESPN show the highlights to the game. Yep. This is not a pay-per-view event. But they're turning it, but that's what they're treating it as, and they're collecting a shit ton of money.
I'm going to put an argument out there.
Should be paying the bills.
That's what I'm going to. The thing is, there was an argument that I had with a friend of mine who liked to say that that amateur athletes should not be getting paid for playing amateur sports, And I have a hard time buying that with college sports because, honestly, I don't think anymore that college sports is necessarily an amateur sport. There's necessarily an amateur environment.
Correct. It's
when
not
the
even
league that
when it
runs
generates
the
so
sport,
much money.
hang on, when the league that runs the sport is getting revenue from advertising and all the and equipment and merchandise sales, it is no longer an amateur environment. An amateur environment would be something like high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just it. Is those kids are mini professionals, and I'm gonna throw that term out there again. Mini professionals. They should be getting compensated for what they're doing for that league, making that league money. I mean, Napier said it in the article. He said, when I go to the store and I see my jersey, even though it doesn't have my last name on it, when I see my jersey that I've influenced into that number on that jersey on the shelf getting sold, I feel like it's a slap in the face.
And it is a slap in the face.
And that's exactly what it is. And that's I'm very heated on this. I think that the players should be compensated to a point. At least this is the argument that I had with them. At least give them the necessities, and that's exactly what I want. Put food in their mouths, put water in their mouths, make sure their cage is clean. That's fine. That's completely fine by me. I think that as long as they have what they need to play. I mean, look at who was it? I think it was Clowney that said if I was getting compensated, I probably would have stayed another year of college.
Oh, hell yeah. Clowney didn't want anything to do with this season at South Carolina. He was like, this is such bullshit. I could be in the NFL right now as a professional. I am ready to take my game to the next level. You guys won't let me. And you guys are keeping me here, exploiting me, and are trying to use me to sell your shit. So you know what? I'm not gonna give you anything. And that's exactly what he did. He didn't give him anything to work with this year. He didn't give him anything to really talk about. He kind of played almost half-assed, but just enough to keep the scouts from going, yeah, Clowney looked good enough. Yeah, he still looked fine.
Right.
And he didn't really put any effort really into the game. He didn't give South Carolina any extra effort.
Well, would you?
Because no, that's the thing.
Exactly.
He got stuck in the system that he had to go into.
Yes.
And that's what happens when you stick someone in something that. And Clowney's smart enough to know that he was stuck in a system that he didn't need to be in.
Right.
He did not need to be in that system. The NFL really should have a minor league. The NFL should have a thing where kids graduate high school. They should be able to come and try out for the minor league team in their area. And the minor league team in their area should be able to offer them a nice contract if they make the minor league team. And this is a kid with potential, like someone who would be a top, 300 recruit in the NCAA.
Yeah.
And then these are the kids that would be getting the $100,000 a year contracts out of college. Or out of high school. Yeah. And then they would go through the football training camp, and then they'd all be able to, the NFL teams would be able to work these kids out, and it would cost them a lot less money to run this league than it would to sign these kids when they get drafted for millions of dollar contracts and then they not work out.
Right. There's one more.
It would be a better system, but the problem is there's this whole entrenched bowl bullshit and people's college traditions and everything tied back to it. And now it's been turned into one big ad for Tostitos.
Right. There's one more point I want to make on this, and before we move on, and that is the scholarships of these players. The main thing, the main thing behind the Northwestern movement, the Northwestern football team, for those of you that don't know, are trying to unionize and make a college players union. And I think the other thing that hasn't been mentioned is the fact that their scholarships are year to year. These are not guaranteed scholarships they are getting. If they're injured, then they're done. If they tear an ACL, they're screwed. And that year of college is completely wiped. They don't have the scholarship anymore. So that's something that aside from the money thing, that's something that needs to be worked on as far as these college athletes go.
Damn right.
Yeah, because that's
a serious one, because that's like. Because I have people go, well, they get $33,000 scholarship. I'm like, no, it doesn't cover all 4 years.
Right.
They get a year-to-year scholarship, and that's it.
Yep,
that's all they get. And
that's exactly what it is.
Screw
it's disgusting.
It's
absolutely
balling.
disgusting.
And especially when I hear someone argue in favor of the other side, I'm like, wow, you just don't even understand how unfair this whole thing is. It's massively, just disproportionately. It's gigantically disproportionate.
Right.
Gigantically disproportionate in favor of the NCAA.
Yeah.
And these kids need to be getting something out of it. I mean, they punished them for driving around in a car that was leased from a local car dealership with some booster. This is the type of shit these kids are getting in trouble for.
Right.
While these coaches are making millions of dollar bonuses for making the NCAA tournament.
Right.
It's so just
it's sickening.
Yeah.
It is absolutely sickening. Yep. But let's get off of the depressing NCAA topic. Let's go to something that and I'll bring Smargy back in on this. The fact that there's a sport out there that nobody talks about that is going into their playoffs that is going to be very, very fun TV to watch. And that, my friends, is the National Hockey League.
Oh, yeah, we're all fired up.
Yes, absolutely.
Hockey. Are they going to play any playoff games outside?
No.
It's going to be too warm.
Too warm now.
It'd be funny that ice would start melting in the middle of the game.
Yeah. LJ, they have that problem.
Stanley.
They have that problem playing indoors in April, buddy.
We're playing the Stanley Cup in a puddle this year.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I mean, have you ever watched any of the Tampa Bay playoff games? That ice is so foggy, it's like slush. It's so warm. They can't. It was the same way in the old Boston Garden. You get to playoff time, and, the refrigeration was just crappy and poor in the old Garden. And that ice was awful.
And there'd be fog. And there'd literally be fog in the old Garden.
Yep.
And then the lights would go out, and the mice would visit and all that.
We have to delay the game because of fog.
Right. But
you don't want anybody bumping into Terry O'Reilly while nobody's looking.
These are not final playoff matchups as of yet.
No, not quite there yet.
Left. But as of right now, these playoff matchups are looking sickening in a very, very good way. As of right now, we're going to start out east, and Boston is looking like they're going to take on Detroit in the first round. Detroit has a playoff streak going consecutively that is older than probably 8 or 9 NHL teams, and that's at 23 years straight that they have made the playoffs, and that's pretty much unmatched in most sports. So,
all right, hold on, time out. I have a question to ask real quick.
Okay.
They totally reseed for the playoffs now. They're not doing any conferences.
I'll give you kind of a rundown. The two division winners, like in the East, the Atlantic and the Metropolitan, Boston and Pittsburgh, they play the wild card teams. It would be Boston. Actually, yeah, it'd be Boston playing Detroit because Boston has the most points and Detroit has the least amount of actually, they're tied right now, but the playoff matchups with the tiebreak would be the Detroit and Boston matchup because of the points and because of the seeding. The Pittsburgh Penguins would play the Columbus Blue Jackets because they have the least amount of points as a division winner. They would play the other wild card team, and then it would be Montreal, which is the 2 seed in the Atlantic, would play the 3 seed in the Metropolitan, which is Philly, and then New York and Tampa Bay would play. If that gives you any kind of, I don't know if you're looking at the standings right now.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Yeah, so they're reseeding everything.
Yes, they redid it with the realignment of the divisions.
That is interesting.
That's what happened. So, yep, it makes for really good.
Now, what do hockey fans think of this?
I personally love it. I mean, it got Detroit into the Eastern Conference, which was huge because now we don't have a whole lot of 10 o'clock games out west anymore, which I love because there would be times we'd go out west for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and then not even 2 or 3 weeks, it'd be like 2 weeks with a road trip, and nobody would ever see the games out east because they're all in bed. So I personally love it, but it makes for matchups that we don't get to see very often, and renewed rivalries like Detroit and Toronto, like for example, I can't really think of any others right off the top of my head, but yeah, the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference teams that don't match up very often, some of them moved out east, and it made things a whole lot better. So, at least from a hockey fan's perspective, I love it.
Yeah, it makes the end of the season a little more interesting too.
Yep.
You have now Boston and Pittsburgh aren't that close in the standings. There's 7 points between them.
Right.
But given enough games, there's who's going to play who and whatnot. And looking at these possible wild card teams, really between Columbus and Detroit, I'm really a lot more afraid of Columbus, to be honest, as far as matchups.
I'm actually going to gonna argue you on that a little bit, just because of the fact that every year at the end of the year, the Wings are on an absolute tear to make it into the playoffs. They did it last year. They did it this year. And the first round matchup that they always have has always been really, really good. I mean, look at the matchup they gave Chicago last year. The Wings did. You know, they were up 3-0 in that series. Chicago came back and won it, and Chicago ended up taking it in 7. But
now, hold on, I got a question to ask though.
Okay.
I mean, you're talking about 2 sacrificial lambs. I mean, if you're the Bruins, Smart, if you're a Bruins fan, don't you have, like, you know, the Bruins are kind of the odds-on favorite going into this thing, right?
I'd say so.
Yeah, well,
I mean, they have the best player in the league in Bergeron, and they have the best goaltender in Rask, and then they have the best coach in Julian.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle, LJ, for Detroit or Columbus, whether they play either of those teams play Boston or Pittsburgh. I'm just saying that if I'm Boston, out of Columbus or Detroit, I'd rather face Detroit, to be honest, because I feel like Columbus has even more momentum than Detroit does this time of year. And they really play with some extreme gusts. They always play so far over their heads every year at this time. So that's the team that I fear more. But clearly, Boston is a favorite against either of those teams, and they have a good chance of eliminating them. In
the other argument I'll make about Detroit, and then I'll shut up about them, is that they're getting healthy at the right time. They've been battling injuries the entire year. Yes. They basically had 3/4 of their Grand Rapids Griffins AHL roster up with the big club for most of the year. And they're getting help. They're getting Datsuk back. They're getting Zetterberg back. They're getting Franzen back. And those 3 by themselves can change a game. And Gustav Nyquist has been playing entirely over his head the entire season. So he's a shoo-in for goaltender.
Yeah, takes a hot goaltender to win the cup.
Yep, absolutely. And Howard is that.
So who's going to stand on their head this year is the question.
Yep, that's exactly right. But that's the matchup I'm looking for.
Ready, and everybody loves playoff hockey. We all hear about it. Everybody who doesn't pay attention during the regular season goes, they're posting it all over. I love playoff hockey.
Right. There's the bandwagon. Bruins. Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Everybody get ready to jump on your bandwagon. I'm getting ready to jump on the Bruins bandwagon. I'll start cheering. I don't know I know Bergeron. I know Tuukka Rask.
Are there any other matchups out east that you're looking at, Smarty?
Well, there's not a ton that really jumps out off the top of my head here. It's always interesting to see. I just can't believe the Rangers finished anywhere in the middle of the standings this year. That really surprised me. I picked them to be right at the bottom, but they did make some good moves during the season. So.
They've got good goaltending.
I mean, I love any of these East matchups. They're always brutal. All these teams hate each other. Put Philadelphia out there against Montreal or Pittsburgh or Boston. Or any of these teams, or New York. I mean, it's always ugly, and you just don't see that in the West as much. I mean, the West has very great competitive hockey, but sort of and actually, gutsy, brutal games.
A lot of people would argue that the West is actually the superior conference, and
there may be more skill there overall. I think,
right?
That's the style of play out.
I think so too. And taking a look out west, you got St. Louis as the 1 seed. They would play. As it stands right now, they would play Minnesota. Or no, actually.
No, Anaheim, according to my ESPN standings here.
Or no. I'm sorry, that is actually false. St. Louis would play Minnesota, and Anaheim would play Dallas as it stands right now. And that St. Louis-Minnesota matchup is actually one that I'll be watching. First of all, we've got a couple of friends, both of which are are really invested each into those teams. So I got one from Minnesota and one from St. Louis, so that works out really well. But the Minnesota Wild are one of the sleeper teams in the West that I want to watch out for, and that's because they've beaten a lot of the teams in this Western Conference multiple times this year. Not to mention that they've beaten everybody out west that they've come across too, or out east that they've come across too. So that's something to watch out for, is that Minnesota Wild team. But the Blues and Wild are one I'm going to be watching. The Anaheim Dallas one. That one should be a fairly easy 5-6 game series for Anaheim. At 6 at the most, I'm thinking for that one. And then you have Colorado playing LA, and then San Jose playing Chicago. And Chicago, I don't think has it this year. I really don't. I think they've fallen off the table a bit since they won the Cup last year, and I don't think they're going to get nearly as far. I think Anaheim is definitely one of the teams to beat. Anaheim is definitely the team to look out for in this Western Conference. That's not a sleeper. So Anaheim, if it comes to a Western Final, Anaheim St. Louis, that's going to be damn good hockey.
Yeah,
So,
I can't wait.
yes, absolutely. And then the other matchup is Colorado and LA, and actually that one's going to be a competitive one because Colorado's shown really good flashes of brilliance this year more often than not, but they've also shown some really, really bad hockey this season as well. So, and LA is usually pretty consistent with quick and net. So it's going to be fun to watch.
And the Kings are built to win in the playoffs.
Yep, that's true.
They're not a regular season team. They're built to sweep into the playoffs. So look out, Western Conference.
Absolutely.
The Kings, they're only what? 2 years ago they won the cup, right?
That was actually, I think, 2010. Did they win it?
Wow.
2010 or 2011.
No,
I think it might have been 2011. Might have been 3 years ago.
Wow,
I can't remember for sure off the top of my head. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head exactly when it was, but I think
wasn't it the 2011-2012 season they won the cup? And then the 2012-2013
was the lockout and then the shortened season. No, I think I don't remember who won it before the lockout, but I don't think it was LA. I'd have to look at one of those Wikipedia things to take a look, but either way, it's a moot point right now. But yeah, it's going to be fun hockey. I can't wait for the playoffs to start. I mean, that's when the NHL makes its big money. That's when they get a majority of their ratings.
That's where everybody makes their money. We're months away from the baseball playoffs, though.
Yes,
we're a long way away, LJ.
Absolutely. Although
we
had a good start to this season.
Long way away. Now the Tigers. Let's start with the good. And we'll go to the bad, and then we'll go to the ugly. So the good. The Tigers, they've been good.
The good for the Tigers has been their offensive game. Their offensive game has been very clutch. They've won a lot of close games so far early in the year. They're sitting at 5-2 right now, after sweeping the Royals and beating the Orioles 2 out of 3, and then they just split a series with L.A. in Chavez Ravine. Yep, and that's the good. They've actually hit a home run in every single game this season. First time since 1914 the Tigers have been able to do that to this point in the season. And then what the problem is in Detroit is that bullpen. And more specifically, it is Joe Nathan. There was an article.
You guys have Jabba Chamberlain there too.
I know, and
you guys got problems. You guys
actually,
got real problems if you're. Yeah, I know. He looked pretty good. I saw him get people out.
He's actually, as of right now, if I'm Detroit in the situation that they are in, I'm putting Jabba as my closer until Joe Nathan gets his shit back. But Jabba's looked good, to start the season. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to look good, this time 3 months from now.
As a seasoned Jabba,
I know.
We've watched Jabba for years with the Yankees just annoy us to no end.
Yep, I agree, and we'll see.
And he does, because he shows those flashes.
Yeah.
Where you go, oh, he could be so great, and then you go, oh yeah, there he is. There's the bad Jabba.
Will the real Jabba Chamberlain please stand up?
There he is. That's the guy. Yep. Yeah.
The back end of the bullpen for the Tigers has been.
Yeah, Red Sox fans used to love to see Jabba coming. They'd be like, oh, Jabba's coming.
It's a good day.
And the Sox fans would stand and cheer when Jabba came in.
That's rally time right there.
Yep.
Yeah, they got comfortable with their rally caps at that point. They were like, "Oh yeah, we can turn our caps back around now."
And the other thing is that I was. Let me give you my mental frame of mind watching this game last night. It was like 12:30, and this was like a 4.5-hour game that the Tigers and Dodgers played that ended up still going to 10 innings. And but the ninth inning comes up. We're up 5-3 after a 3-run homer by Nick Castellanos, which I'll get to in a second. The Tigers show their bullpen, and I see Joe Nathan. And,
Joe.
My positivity for this game and how it was going to end went from, hey, we might actually win this one, to, well, shit, we're either playing in extras or we're going home unhappy. So and right on cue, we're up 6-3 at the point. He gave up 3 in the ninth, and the Dodgers tied the game, and then Victor Martinez hit one in the 10th that Jabba Chamberlain closed out, which we just talked about. The thing is with Joe Nathan, there was an article that came out with it was an interview with him, and he said apparently that he had a dead arm, which scares the hell out of me. Joe Nathan did.
Well, yeah. I mean, you that's not good. If he's got a dead arm, then you have a dead closer. Then you need to go throw him in the trash bin and go get yourself one of them closers that doesn't exist right now.
Right, exactly, and that's just it. LJ, is that there's closers dying all over the place in the majors.
Oh yeah, there's dead birds everywhere in Oakland. Jimmy Johnson dead.
Yep. Jose Valverde was dead on arrival in New York.
Parnell got hurt, and Valverde dead. Gave up a grand slam yesterday.
As I said, though, Valverde was one of those that was dead on arrival.
Craig Kimbrell gave up runs last night. Everybody's getting hit.
Yeah, the bullpen ERA around the majors right now is not good.
The guy that the Yankees brought in to replace Robertson while he's hurt, blew it yesterday against the Orioles.
Yeah, who was that they brought in? Do you remember?
Sean Kelly.
Okay. All right.
A bastard.
But yeah, that's what. There's
a lot of ugly. When we go to talk about my Yankees, we got some ugly.
Yeah, and we'll get to them in just a second. But one of the bright spots on this Tigers roster right now is the guy hitting in the 5-hole right now, and the 6-hole right now. And that's Nick Castellanos. He was touted as the top prospect in the Tigers organization and around Major League Baseball for a little while, and so far in his rookie season he is not disappointed. So he's been very good. He hit a 3-run bomb over the head of Matt Kemp in center field last night. And it looked like he knew what he was doing, and he hit that off of Josh Beckett, who's no slouch.
Yes, no, Josh Beckett's a slouch.
I'll argue that point, but
Josh Beckett looking like a slouch lately, man.
Maybe lately,
from 2 years
but he has a reputation.
Well, yeah, he has a reputation for being slouchy.
Yes, he does have a reputation for being slouchy.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Chris.
I'm sorry, but he does.
All right. I'm outvoted. That's fine.
You can get your hopes up a little bit, but
I'm outvoted. That's fine.
If he's taking advantage of the Josh Becketts of the world, it'll be he can take advantage of any 3 pitcher or lower right now pretty easily, and and then he's working his way up to being able to hit against the best of the best. It's hard to hit a baseball. If you're good at it a third of the time, you're a Hall of Famer.
If you're a Red Sox fan, you watched Josh Beckett pitch brilliantly in 2007, and then every year after that, he had a blister, an avulsion, a twinge in his back, a dead arm, and
all right.
He had some Popeye's chicken that he didn't want to get cold.
Yeah.
and then which led to Terry Francona being fired, and then the Red Sox being mean to him as he left town, which is unforgivable.
Yeah, that's one thing, Smargy, that I didn't like, and I'm going to go back a little bit in the news here. The Red Sox, after letting go of Francona, basically brought up some of his real personal stuff, and I did not like that as a third party within the Red Sox organization.
Chris. It was
absolutely,
absolutely disgusting, and not surprising at all.
No, you're right.
To be honest. But yeah, that whole thing was just real ugly.
Absolutely, that organization lost respect for me for.
And they really shouldn't have been telling them that Francona was hanging out at the strip clubs with Mo Vaughn. That wasn't nice to say.
Right. That's not our business.
No, that's the shit that I'm combining the two stories.
No, that's right.
When Mo Vaughn left town, they
it was the same.
They kind of blew up Mo Vaughn's reputation after he left town too. Yeah, every time the Red Sox lose someone, they blow up their reputation.
Yep.
And then Bobby Valentine helped them out and just did it himself.
I'm glad the Indians looked past all that BS that Boston put out and hired him, because Cleveland's going to be better for it.
Oh, he had a huge impact.
They already are better. They already are better for it.
Yep,
they're already a better team because he's managing them.
Yep, absolutely.
You see the effect on the team. You see again, you're bringing in a guy that's got World Series rings and pedigree and the ability to communicate and understanding that players, he understands how to finesse a team and all that other yada, yada, yada nonsense that goes along with the knowing where to position guys. And what the fuck is going on with all these shifts in Major League Baseball? Everybody is shifting. You have guys playing all the way on the other side of the field. Everybody is now Joe Madden. And then we got Girardi shifting and then shifting in between pitches and shifting again after another pitch. And I'm like, Ashved, make a fucking decision over here.
Well,
it's like Jesus fucking Christ.
Like you like to say, I mean, that's the prevalence of statistics and
sabermetrics
in the game.
The sabermetrics has ruined the infield.
You got your hit chart, and you got your fielding UZR, and you just match them up so that your guys are wherever he's going to hit the ball, most likely.
You got center fielders playing second base. You got fucking this going over there. You got that going over here.
It's like co-ed softball.
It's craziness.
Yep.
Dogs and cats sleeping together. It's madness out there in the infield right now. I don't know, man.
We don't need to talk about Alex Rodriguez's sex life on the show. I mean,
it's out of hand. Derek Jeter came back and he was like, "Wait a minute,
what the fuck's going on here?
Standing over here." Yeah, they moved Kelly Johnson from third base to second base.
Yep.
And then they moved him back, and then they moved him. I'm like, oh my god.
I'll give you a scenario that makes sense
and the thing is, I'm a little scared because I don't think Girardi fully understands all this shifting stuff, and it's been causing problems. They've misplayed some stuff. I'm worried. I don't know it's like a new video game. Some of these guys don't understand the rules yet.
Yeah, LJ, I'm going to give you another
scenario. They don't know how to work the controller.
That seems to work here, and that there seems to be very curious, and that's Brad Ausmus in Detroit. For whatever reason, whenever there's a man on third and less than 2 out, he really, 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 really likes to play the infield end. It doesn't even matter what inning it is. It could be the first inning.
He's playing some sort of percentage that he thinks there's an edge there.
I don't know, but he's played the infield in no less than probably 12 times.
All right, Chris, let me ask you something, too. Brad Ausmus has got to be the coolest manager in baseball, right?
Right, yep.
Motherfucker sits in his chair through the whole game just chilling.
Yep.
Sunglasses, just fucking like what? Like,
Absolutely.
And then I saw him deal with a challenge the other day. He comes just, coming out like looking like the coolest dude in the room.
Right. Yeah. He's just like, hey, how you doing?
Walks up to the guy, gives him a little chin nod, like, what up? All right, can I get my challenge? All right, cool. I'm gonna go back to my seat. And he goes back, sits in his seat, puts his feet up, wins his challenge. He goes, yeah, I knew I was winning my challenge. Don't even sweat this shit. I got this shit though. He's like the coolest motherfucker in the room.
Yep.
I swear to God, that's why he's a manager. This is a career 251 hitter. And he's not he lasted in the league for 20 years.
Yep.
I swear everybody wanted him around because he was cooler than everybody else. He is the coolest motherfucker around.
That's exactly right. I love having him around. He brings a personality to that team. That's for sure. I mean,
and I hear he's a Class A funny ball busting motherfucker.
Yep.
Like he's got something for everybody.
Yep. That's exactly right. I mean that's
I read that article. I was like, he's got something for everybody, and he just looks like he's cooler than everybody.
He looks like a major league manager, doesn't he?
Yes. If you were going to cast somebody in a movie, you'd cast Brad Ausmus.
Yeah,
as the major league manager. I noticed that. I was like, oh, this is why this motherfucker got the job. He was in the office. He could have said, did that dude shit fuck and gotten the job too. He could have said anything. They would have hired him. He had him mesmerized. That was like when Bill Clinton was running for president. He banged chicks, got blowjobs, did anything good, and we still voted for him.
Yep.
We didn't care. We liked the dude.
Coolest motherfucker in the room.
Yes, coolest motherfucker in the room. That's how this shit works.
Yep, absolutely. But we'll get away from Brad Ausmus for a bit, even though it's a very entertaining conversation. Let's talk about your Yankees, LJ. Where are they at right now?
The good is Jacoby Ellsbury.
Yep.
There's a whole lot of good coming out of Jacoby Ellsbury. I'm impressed. I'm like, all right, this is why the Red Sox were good last year. This was one of the reasons. This motherfucker was helping set that table.
He's got that porch in him too.
This guy's been getting on base for the Yankees, and the games that the Yankees won has been won with all the help by Ellsbury.
Yes.
And there in one of the victories, on base 3 times, knocked in runs, scored runs, stole bases, did everything he needed to do to spur the offense. Carlos Beltran actually started hitting some home runs too. The hitting's going to come around. I'm not worried about the hitting. CC Sabathia is the ugly.
I agree with that.
Even in the win he got the other day, he still gave up runs. He's not there pitching wise. Tanaka, for whatever reason, can't get out of the first couple innings without giving up some runs. because he gives up the runs and then he settles down and he strikes out 10 people.
The thing is with Tanaka, and I'll interject here for a second. Tanaka, I think, is going through a bit of an adjustment period. He's still got a little bit of the butterflies going on. I think once you come the middle of the season, he'll be in dominant form because, like you said, once he settles down, he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, because he's been settling in and just mowing people down.
Tanaka will be fine. I'm not worried about the one that worries me is definitely Sabathia for you guys.
I mean, Sabathia is an issue. Nova lost a bad one the other day, but he's prone to doing that. He's an up and down guy. He's literally a 12-12 guy.
Right.
Yep. You know, he's going to look like an ace one day, and why the fuck did we start him the next day?
He looks like Nate Robertson in 2007.
Yeah, there you go. And then Pineda looked good the first time out. We're going to see again tonight against the Red Sox.
Yep.
This is really the test. Let's see where he's at. And who was the other one? Oh, Kuroda. Kuroda's Kuroda.
Yep.
You know, there's I got no arguments with him right now.
Yeah.
The bullpen before Robertson got hurt, we were fine. When Robertson gets back, we'll be fine in the bullpen. And I still don't think Girardi knows how to drive this new car called Sabermetrics and all this shifting. I'm worried.
Well, you got to think though of the major league franchises. If there was one that would be late to adjust, it'd be the Yankees.
Well, I'm waiting to see who baseball in general has been late to adjust to all of this stuff.
That's true.
I mean, let's be honest now. The other people in the other leagues like basketball. I mean, hell, basketball is so sabermetric ready that they're filming every aspect of every game.
Right.
They are literally filming everything that goes on the court. So they're gonna have such advanced statistics for their game. It's gonna be ridiculous. And now baseball's catching up with all this advanced statistic stuff, with all the shifting and everything else that's going on. But then I think some of these managers are going to be tending to overthink, and you're going to have to hold maybe have too many numbers.
And that's just it with
somebody to come in and know what to do with those numbers.
And that's just it with baseball is the danger of overthinking, because you have the stats in basketball, but sabermetrics in basketball makes more sense because it's a faster paced game. You take a look at baseball and it's way slower and that gives the managers time to think, and that can be dangerous towards the team.
Yeah. So, you're overthinking things.
Yep.
And you're shifting and you're shifting back and you're shifting again. And sometimes so now the hitters are just going to adjust. All right, you're going to give me that side of the field. In batting practice every day, they're going to be working to hit to that side of the field.
Right.
So then they're going to be okay. So now the shift for Prince Fielder has changed because Prince in batting practice decided he wanted to change that up. And then the kids in the minor leagues, you're going to have to start teaching them to hit the ball literally, like Yogi Berra said, hit them where they ain't.
Right.
All right, kid, you're going to need to be able to spray the ball to every field. A guy like that is going to become a huge commodity versus these guys, these pull hitters. These guys that used to be able to just, pull the ball for doubles all day.
And that's where players like Miguel Cabrera can be so dangerous, because you really don't know where he's going to hit the ball. He can hit it to right field.
There's no Miggy shift.
Right, exactly.
There's no Miggy shift.
Unless you start playing in the stands. Right. Same with Mike Trout.
I mean, Trout can spray the ball all over the field. You're going to need guys that can hit the ball in that in that way.
Yes.
In order to, this game is going to advance past this. There's going to be an adjustment by the hitters. There's going to be adjustment by the minor league systems to teach these kids to hit in that way. You're going to have to take the kids that are raw in high school and teach them how to hit in this way.
Yep.
It's going to be a process.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to see it. It's going to start at the top and it's going to trickle its way down.
Yeah.
That's how this stuff happens. I mean, hell, look at the stuff that football in high school and at the lower college levels happening. You have these offenses that are crazy stuff that's happening, and it started up at the top, but none of the NFL or anything can be that many risk takers. But a guy with a high school team can take as many risks as he wants.
Right.
He's like, I can get fired. I don't care. I can go back to teaching psychology. I don't give a fuck. I took the job because I wanted to see what I could do. And so he decides to run some crazy offense he read about, and he starts running, and he goes, wow, this shit works.
Yep.
And then he gets some, write-up on, ESPN.com for some shit. Well, where the hell were we? We just went off in a.
Well, we were talking about your Yankees for a bit, but I think we basically covered them. Let's actually. I'm going to move over from you. I'm going to head over to Smargy. And what do your Red Sox look like?
Well, they're kind of looking like the same sort of spot where the Yankees are. I mean, certainly in the standings. They've had a few injuries at the beginning of the year that have been a problem for them. The Will Middlebrooks injury certainly has been hurting the team a bit.
Yes. Yep.
And pitching needs to come around. You know, John Lester's been continuing his success starting this season. I hope he can keep that up, but I'm still skeptical as far as his ability to consistently perform at this level through the whole season.
Yep.
But I think the rest of the pitching will come around, and yeah.
Smart, let me ask you a question. Clay Buchholz has got the same problem CC Sabathia has. He doesn't have velocity like he used to. They're talking about they're literally were people suggesting that they should send Buchholz down to the minors to work on velocity. If he doesn't get it back, then train him to be a different pitcher.
Yeah, well, that is a big problem, and this has been part of Buchholz's history. You know, he does have, a history of being on the DL for things like pinched nerve in his neck. He had an esophageal problem as well.
Well, that's the other thing about Buchholz is that he's been really rough with when he does lose velocity, he loses it quite a bit, and
he falls off very sharply when he's not on, when he doesn't have it, and that's been the big question. And last year we were talking about the PV trade and all that, and I said, well, look, we're assuming that Buchholz is going to be this ace, next, the rest of this year and next year going forward, and he can't consistently do it. He's the kind of guy who can give you 3 months of great pitching, but you got to keep him out, right. Because of the wear on his body.
And you're not even getting that this year, and I was the one that was saying that shit, and I was wrong as fuck.
And this is why I was not as big on, it's like Jake Peavy was a good acquisition, but I think they needed to do more at some point. So this is going to be a big question for them going forward. Can the rest of the staff step it up and keep them in the hunt? And can Clay Buchholz come back and pitch?
Yes.
So I'd be looking for them to bolster starting rotation as we go through the season towards the deadline.
Yeah, Grady Sizemore has definitely been a positive for you guys, though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's been a nice surprise.
But the problem is he had injury or what's his name there? Victorino hasn't been in the lineup.
That's been hurting them quite a bit.
And that's been a problem. Everybody's been complaining about that, and Daniel Nava's just not been delivering anything. So Red Sox fans are depressed about that.
Yeah.
And that's when you listen to the Boston Talk Radio, you hear them. God, they get so specific about things, and then you're just like, wow, you guys are true fans of your Red Sox.
Yeah.
The shit they delve into on talk radio, they get deep. These guys analyze and overanalyze and reanalyze their overanalyzing.
Any other notes on the Red Sox this March?
No, I think, like I said, it's a lot like the Yankees in that regard. Is I would expect these teams to be at the top of the division as we get halfway through the season. I think they'll both turn it around quite a bit.
Yep.
I don't think Toronto is gonna, stay in there. But so early, it's just so early. We're only at weekend,
right.
So.
Right. Well, let's. Before we close it out, I'll go ahead and give an update on the live stuff that's going on right now. Oakland is up on the Minnesota Twins in the bottom of the 8th, 6-1. The Twins do have a man on first, however, and then the Cubs are up 2-0 in the bottom of the 4th on the Pirates. They have men on the corners. So
who scored for the Cubs?
I can find out here in just a second.
Go Cubbies!
Yeah, we have.
Looks like the second one was on a wild pitch. The first one was on a wild pitch too. Or no, never mind. That's the same one. It was
Bonifacio stole second, and then there was a throwing error by Sanchez, and then Castro singled to shallow, and Rizzo scored. All right. Yep, they got to Garrett Cole.
Yep, they did. They did. And actually, another update. They are actually up 3-0 now.
3 hits, 7 strikeouts for Wood.
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. Yep. There you go.
Yep, they're actually up 3-0 now. They just scored, and they've got a man on second. Going over to the Masters real quick, just to give you an update. Bill Haas is done with his day. He leads the field at -4, one-stroke lead over Louis Oosthuizen. And then for those that care, Phil Mickelson is even par, and he's basically the only one I'm really watching other than probably Rory McIlroy, which I don't have any.
What about Sergio?
I don't even see him.
What about Bubba?
Yep. Sergio is Sergio is -1. He's tied for 11th, and then if I can find Bubba, he's got to be up here somewhere.
Where Bubba?
Bubba's my favorite. I don't watch a lot of golf, but Bubba's probably one of my favorites to watch.
Sergio and Bubba are both at -1.
Where Bubba at? Bubba, what you doing, Bubba?
So that's your Masters update, and that is your last score update for the afternoon.
All right. Well, do we have anything else, guys, or are we going to wrap this up?
I think we're basically good.
Roger Staubach thinks everybody should draft Johnny Manziel ahead of everyone else.
I think Roger
Staubach is old and should not be running an NFL team.
Yes, exactly.
I agree.
And that's
what we'll end the program on.
Well, thanks everybody for listening, and you can find us on our website, freeagentspodcast.com. From there, you can find all our links to Facebook, Google+, YouTube, iTunes, etc., etc. So check us out there, and we will be back next week, hopefully with another live show for you. Thanks a lot for listening.
Hey.